Hey, if you're watching this video, summer grilling season is upon us, and we want to do something special. We're going to give you a special code dropped somewhere in this video. So enjoy the video, but stay tuned. Somewhere in the video, there's going to be a special one-use code. You take that code to beardedbutchers.com. It's going to give you 20% off of a collection of our spices and sauces, just like you see here. Meat and spices have gone together for centuries, and for decades, the Bearded Butchers have been elevating the meat experience with our spices. So stay tuned. Find the code a few minutes later in this video. We're going to make what we believe is some of the best barbecue beef you could ever experience. Temps are getting awesome in Ohio. They're warming up, and all I can think about is barbecue. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take 2 beef fronts, and we're gonna pull the chuck eye roll out of each front. One chuck eye roll is going in the Yoder smoker. The other chuck eye roll is going in a crock pot. We're gonna run the two side by side and do a comparison. And in the end, we're gonna have an employee luncheon right here at our headquarters. So let's get started breaking down some beef fronts. Separate that rib from the chuck. 5th and 6th rib. This is a prime grain-fed beef. And I know this is gonna make some incredible barbecue beef. If you've never experienced a shredded barbecue beef sandwich, you're missing out. Pulled pork, that's great too, don't get me wrong, but sometimes you get a little bit burnt out on pulled pork. You know, whether it's graduation parties or weddings or whatever, this is a great option for all the beef lovers in the crowd. This is a big hoss too. Oh, thick. Look at that. Beautiful. So beef chuck eye roll, you can see this portion right here, there's the blade bone. So this was typically where you would get your chuck roast from or your chuck eye steaks. And when we break it down between that 5th and 6th rib, that partners up with the rib section. So you can see right here, that's that very first ribeye steak that you get off of that rib section. So we're going for this chuck eye roll, which is right here, and it goes to about right here inside this beef front. We're gonna shoot for about maybe an 8-pound roast that we're gonna barbecue. So we are gonna be taking a few steaks, some chuck eye steaks off the end of this. But yeah, let's just get this roast out of here. Start by taking the brisket and shank off. That's the neck. And this is that chuck portion that we're after. All right, let's extract this chuck eye roll out of here. So I have to start by removing this cap. There's this fat cap on the top of this chuck. And underneath of this cap are the flat iron steaks, the mock tender, and those cuts. So I will explain those as I take this cap off and we fabricate this front for this chuck. There's a seam right here. Just follow that seam down. And pull this right off of here. So located right here, that's gonna be that top blade steak that you make in flat irons. Today's video, we're not focusing on flat irons, but I'll still mention them and show you where they come from. Start by getting this top blade steak out. So there's the top of that blade bone runs right here. You just want to take your knife and run it right down along that blade bone. Take our meat hook. We can pull this whole top blade roast out. There's that whole top blade roast that we'll trim out the flat iron steaks. Now let's pull the mock tender. So we do the same thing, but on the opposite side of that shoulder blade bone. We usually use the mock tender for some beef stir fry. Looks really good. There's your mock tender. Now let's pull this blade bone out. So there's that whole blade bone. So if I lay these back in there, you would have had your mock tender right there and your top blade right there. There's this piece of meat right here I want to take off. It's that underblade steak. Held on by a seam. That'll make some fantastic stew meat. So this is the end that was down towards the neck side. This is the end that I was explaining earlier that meets that ribeye. So we're just gonna go all the way down along these vertebrae bones. And I'll turn this up so you can see. Those are those long feather bones. And we can extract this entire chuck eye roll. So Josh, got a question for you. Have you ever had barbecued beef?
I have.
What'd you think of it?
It's fantastic.
What cut was it? What did you use?
Just so happened to be a chuck roll.
Hey, perfect.
Like
So
you said, great alternative to pork.
absolutely.
You want something different.
Yeah, because if you think about it, this is basically the same cut as a pork shoulder butt roast, like that money muscle area on pork. Just happens to be in beef. So yeah, if you looking for a good alternative to some pulled pork, by all means, do a chuck eye roll. So I just have to remove this yellow cord out of here. You don't want that in your barbecued beef. I know if I showed up at a graduation party or a wedding and they said they had barbecue beef sandwiches, I would be extremely excited.
Well, and if you have a smoker that could fit this entire thing, you're feeding what?
Oh,
People?
if you figure, typically you figure about 4 sandwiches per pound, so we'll weigh this at the end and we can do some calculations on how many people we think it would feed. And that's 4 sandwiches per pound, that's a 1/4 pound per sandwich, and that's a pretty hearty sandwich. You could probably actually get a few more than that. That is the entire beef chuck eye roll. I want to get it weighed up. 15 on the nose. So I think we're going to take some chuck eye steaks, as mentioned, off this one end, maybe shoot for that 8-ish pound range for our roast. So we'll just snag a few, more than a few, maybe like 6. Start with 6 and see where that leaves us, poundage. Let's do 5. So 5, let's weigh this again. So just over 10 pounds. I changed my mind a little bit, I said 8, but I think we're gonna go with 10 because we've got a decent amount of people that we're going to feed for our crew at HQ for our luncheon tomorrow. And yeah, I'm just going to do 10-pound roast. That's going to be about your size of like your shoulder butt. So 5 chuck eyes and a 10-pound beef chuck eye roast. And let's just do second verse, same as the first. Repeat that process, and let's get a second chuck eye roll. First one weighed 15. Let's see what this one weighs. Got that one a little bit smaller. So when I broke it down, could have just, varied a little bit with where it was broke down. That's why the weight was a little bit different. But just go get some chuck eye steaks off this end. I want to try to keep the second roast right around 10 pounds as well. So
Well, it's pretty close to me.
it's pretty close. Let's put her on the scale. Take one more steak off of there. Try that again. Woo! 10 pounds on the nose. So there you have 2 gorgeous beef chuck eye rolls. You can grab these in the grocery store. You can, or a butcher shop. You can buy a whole entire chuck eye roll. You can cut it into steaks. You can cut it into roasts. But as mentioned, today we're showing you how to make this into some amazing barbecued beef. So the next step, we're gonna head to the grill. One's going on the Yoder smoker, one's going in a crock pot. We are going to season these with Black and Bold, and then we are going to top them with some Bearded Butcher barbecue and some Rebel Red, and we're gonna make some sandwiches. So the next step for us is get that smoker fired up, get that crock pot plugged in, and let's just get the process started. So we'll see you out at the grill. You too can enjoy some of this wonderful summer barbecue. Summer 25. Summer 25, that's your code. 20% off seasoning and sauces. Those are going to be the sauces and seasonings that we have on our collection page, on our website, in the shakers, the travel packs, the 4-pound bags, the sauces in your 2 17-ounce and your half-gallon. So, single use, 1 per customer. Get it before it runs out. Summer 25. Take it to beardedbutchers.com. Use up your code. You too can elevate your meat experience. We made it out to the grill. The Yoder's fired up, set at 250 degrees. The next step is just to go in with some Bearded Butcher Bold and some Black. So both roasts are going to get seasoned the same way. And since this is such a large chunk of meat, so these were cut this morning. I did let them sit out at room temp for a little while. And it is currently just before 4 p.m. because we're expecting probably about a 12 to 14 hour smoke. I bet it's closer to 14 by the time these are done, and then we can let them rest for a couple hours before we have our employee luncheon. So just a nice liberal coating. This lug works really good to season these in. I have our disposable liner in there. Works super good. So just get the outside coated as much as we can. That little flap on there will go underneath that.
The smell's already hitting
Oh
me.
man, I was craving a nice long, low, and slow barbecue smoke YouTube video, and hopefully the audience was too, because now's the time. And what better way to do it than with some barbecued beef. So I put the Black on first. That has the molasses and the coffee base in there. That's going to give it a really nice crust. And then our Bold has those real nice granulars. Just got that smacky in the face kind of flavor. And these two pair together, just they work so good. It's a 10-pound chunk of meat. per piece, so that's quite a bit of barbecued beef. And we do have probably around 40 people to feed, so if we do our math like I mentioned earlier in the video, if we do 4 sandwiches per pound, we should be right there, and we can make a pretty healthy looking sandwich with a quarter pound of meat per sandwich. So there we go, all seasoned up. One of them's going in the Yoder, so I'm just gonna take one of these and we're gonna place it in the Yoder, and we're gonna probe it in that thickest center portion. We're going to smoke it for about 4 or 5 hours, and then we're going to put it in a foil pan. So we're going to put a pan. We're actually going to put this pan underneath this roast because we want to catch some of those drippings. We'll move it into the foil pan, and we're going to add some bone broth, and then we're going to wrap it because this baby's going to be put to rest all night long. We're going to come back tomorrow morning, and then we will see where we're at on temp and stuff. In the meantime, Scott, he's got something special to show you about the one that's going in the crock pot. Scott's hot tip. So I'm going to be taking some of our natural hickory smoke powder. This is something that we sell online. And whenever you're not doing a smoking device, you can use this natural hickory smoke powder, which we use a water-based process to get this hickory smoke powder. And it adds this wonderful smoke flavor to whatever meats that you're working with, or really whatever you're working with. So it comes in a package 3 ounces, and that's intended for 25 pounds. Now being this roast is 10 pounds, I'll just use a little, somewhere right around little less than half of the package. I'm just gonna coat this roast, and that's gonna should give it a nice smoked flavor, even though in this crock pot obviously there's no smoking going on, but the smell alone, it starts to hit you. It just gives you this wonderful Thanksgiving Day hickory smoked feel. So there we go, just about half a pack. Now we're gonna take this, put it in our crock pot. We're gonna add some bone broth. Not quite full because it's gonna have some of its own juices, so put the lid on, set it on low, and just walk away.
Can I get a whiff?
You can get a whiff.
Oh man,
Smells good, don't it?
Smells so good. We'll see you guys in a few hours to take care of this one. Put it in the pan, add the bone broth. I want to introduce you guys to our in-house culinary specialist, Hannah Saddlemeyer. Maybe you've seen her on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. She's been doing some incredible recipes using our Bearded Butcher Blend products. So while the roasts are resting, she's gonna make some sides. She's gonna start out with a homemade coleslaw, and then she's going to make a smoked mac and cheese. So Hannah, take it away.
Awesome. Today we're gonna be making a really simple coleslaw with a sweet Vidalia onion dressing. This is a really easy, simple dressing because everything just goes right into the food processor and you don't really have to make dirty dishes. So I have 1 cup of oil, about 2/3 of a cup of white distilled vinegar, half of a Vidalia onion, right into the food processor, and then a whole tablespoon of yellow mustard, 1 clove of garlic. I'm just gonna add some mayonnaise in here. That way it holds the suspension between the oil and the vinegar. It'll emulsify it. Okay. A teaspoon of celery seeds, and then the Bearded Butcher Bold Seasoning. Add a good amount of that because the cabbage and the carrots is gonna absorb a lot of the salt. And then I'm just going to blend this on high for a few minutes. Okay, we could leave the dressing just like this. It would be slightly tangy and vinegary, but I'm gonna add about a 1/3 cup of sugar. That way it balances out the acidity. Okay, now it's time to add the dressing onto the shredded red cabbage, green cabbage, and carrots. Do a little less than you would think because a lot of the moisture will just go to the bottom, especially because the vegetables will drain out a lot of water also. This is a perfect side dish for summer, for a summer barbecue. It's bright in color and in flavor. I'm using the bold blend to season, so it's perfect. It's got good amount of salt, good amount of pepper, paprika, and the bold blend's not only good on steak, but it's also good in sides like this. So, here we go. Okay, I have Seth here.
One ladies first.
Okay, don't mind if I do. We're gonna give it a taste test.
We're gonna sample Hannah's creation.
Yep.
And like she said, it wouldn't be a summer barbecue, especially with pulled beef sandwiches,
Right.
without some coleslaw.
Cheers.
So cheers. Homemade coleslaw.
What do you think?
Excellent.
Good.
Nice work.
Thanks. Tangy,
I love it.
sweet, and that celery seed comes through also. It's really good.
I have a feeling I'm going to be piling mine on my sandwich.
Right?
We're 4 hours in, actually just a little more than 4 hours in. I did bump the temp down to 200 a couple hours in because the internal temp of this roast was climbing pretty fast, and we didn't want to find ourselves here at 2 a.m. pulling this thing off. We have not opened the smoker until now. Whew. Yeah, that's all we're going to do. Just pull this roast off, put it in our pan, and we're going to bring it over here. We're going to add some tallow like Scott did to the broth, bro. Sorry. Broth. I had tallow in
Broth,
the brain.
bro.
Broth, bro. This is going to help steam this and keep it nice and juicy while we go to bed and take a little snooze. So once we get that broth in there, just grab us a piece of foil. We're going to cover this up, get it sealed up real nice, and then we're going back on the Yoder. We're going to be checking the temp of this periodically. If we wake up or something in the middle of the night, we'll check it and see where we're at. Back on we go. Thank you. She's put to bed.
How's our crock pot roast doing?
Let's take a look. I'm actually going to flip this over too. See what we're... Oh, that smell. You smell that, Spence?
Oh yeah, it's looking dang good too.
Looks like it's 110 to 130 degrees. A little hotter on the bottom, so just give it a flip here so we can match Seth's smile or Seth's style.
How's she looking?
Oh, looks amazing. Now we can go to bed.
All right.
We put him to bed. Now let's go to bed ourselves.
We're going to keep an eye on these temps before we're awake. But we will see you all in the AM. The next morning, we're 18 and a half hours in. We monitored these cooks through the night, woke up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. We were in discussion with Scott and Spencer. You want to tell them about the crock pot roast, and then I will pull the roast off of the Yoder.
Sure. So as you know with the crock pot, the whole benefit of it is it's just super easy. This roast just sat in here on low and simmered all night long. It's now in the low 200s, just where you'd want a roast to go if you were smoking it to pull it apart. It feels nice and tender with that probe going in there. think it's gonna shred up beautifully. All I have to do is just flip it over to warm and set it off to the side until we get ready to shred it.
Crock pot roast looks pretty darn good. Now it's time to see the Yoder smoker roast. We have not opened this lid since we wrapped it last night at about 8:30. Let's take a peek. Ooh, that's tender. Wow, that's tender. She's steaming. Look at that. You ready for the reveal?
I'm ready.
Oh,
baby.
my goodness. Look at that.
Oh man,
That looks incredible.
positively amazing.
Let's do a little probe test here. 202 going up, maybe 202 and a half. Oh, a little hotter on this end. It's that smaller end, 206. Yeah, that is so tender. Look at that bark on there. Oh man. So the next step, we're just gonna get this wrapped back up. It's gonna go in the Yeti cooler. We're gonna let it rest for probably an hour, and then we're gonna shred the Yoder smoker roast, and we're gonna shred the crock pot roast. In the meantime, our in-house culinary specialist, Hannah Saddlemeyer, is gonna make some smoked mac and cheese, and the smoked mac and cheese is gonna go right back on the Yoder behind me because it's already hot. So next step, smoked mac and cheese. You saw the coleslaw, now it's time for smoked mac and cheese. Hannah, you ready for this?
I'm ready for this.
The Yoder smoker's all lit. Let's watch Hannah make some, mix up her mac and cheese, and it's getting smoked. It's all yours, Hannah.
Okay, so we're gonna make this smoked mac and cheese from scratch. I'm using our Cajun blend, make it nice and peppery, and our butter blend. To make the roux, we have equal parts flour to butter. So I'm going to add about 4 ounces of butter. Okay, now that our butter is melted, I'm using a whisk, and then I'm gonna pour the flour right in here. And then by using a whisk, it just breaks up all the clumps better. Just gonna give that a good mix. Once all the clumps are out, I'm gonna switch to using a metal spoon. And then this is gonna cook until it smells fragrant and all of the flour taste is cooked out. So you'll tell the color is gonna become yellow, and then it's gonna become a light golden brown. I'm switching back to using a whisk now, and then I'm slowly going to add some milk to it. It's gonna clump a little bit, but it'll separate. It's gonna go through some weird phases. It'll get clumpy, but then in the end it'll smooth out. Okay, at this point I'm going to add a little bit of the Cajun seasoning. The Cajun seasoning is nice and peppery, and then I'm going to go and add some butter blend also, just for that flavor. Stir that all together. We're adding just some Velveeta cheese right now. Let that melt down. Okay, before the Velveeta completely melts, I have a bowl of a bunch of different cheddars. I think 2-year-aged cheddar, 18-month cheddar, and then also Colby Jack and Gouda. So I'm gonna add just a handful of that. Don't add it all at once because the cheese sauce will split from all the oil in the shredded cheese. So I'm gonna add about that much and then mix it in slowly. And then if it's really thick like that, just add a little bit more milk. This recipe will take about 1 gallon of milk. Okay, another handful of the cheese going in. There we go, and I'll give that a good mix. Okay, so once most of the cheese is melted, I'm going to add 8 ounces of cream cheese right into the pot, and then about a tablespoon of Dijon mustard. Put that right in there, and then give it about 5 minutes to melt down over medium heat. Now we're gonna get started on the bread topping. So I have breadcrumbs, and then I have melted butter. Okay, so I'm gonna pour about half of this melted butter in, and then give it a stir. That way, every bit of breadcrumb is evenly coated. And then the Bearded Butcher butter blend in there. Season that up. Perfect. And then this is super quick and easy. Just like that, it's done. Perfect. Okay, so I have my cheese sauce here. It's not completely melted yet, but the cheese will finish melting on the smoker. I have par-oiled noodles right here. I'm gonna pour the cheese sauce right over top. Okay, go. Okay, once I poured the cheese sauce over, I'm gonna go and add our seasoned breadcrumbs. Gonna top it off with some Bearded Butcher butter blend, and then also some Cajun. Okay, and then I'm gonna pop this in the smoker at 225 for about an hour, and then we'll check on it. Go.
No, you can stay in here. Hannah, this looks amazing. She brought me in to do the important step, put it on the smoker. Oh, I cannot wait to try it. So she said about an hour at 225. We'll check back.
What you doing there?
Hannah went inside, so we're stealing some. Oops. I can't wait. Oh my gosh. That's from scratch. Oh, wow. Isn't that good? This is going to be quite the lunch. Wow. Amazing. The sides have been made, the coleslaw, the mac and cheese, and we're nearly 26 hours in since we cut these roasts yesterday morning at 8 a.m. It's almost lunchtime. The next step is to take these out of the crock pot and out of the cooler, and we're going to shred these into some barbecued shredded beef. So we're just going to lift this out of the crock pot, go into an aluminum pan, and then we're just going to give it the smash. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
Oh, wow. That is cooked to absolute perfection. Doesn't that look amazing?
That looks so good.
And the nice thing about that boneless chuck eye roast is there's very little connective tissue in there. And any there he goes. Scott snuck in for a bite. And any fat that was in there, you can just mix right in with your meat. That looks just like pulled pork.
What do
Delicious.
we think?
It's delicious. Oh, it pulls so nice. Look at that. Back in the crock pot we go. We did remove some of that broth out of the crock pot, and then we're going to add some back in. Keep it nice and juicy until lunchtime. Here, Charlie. Come here. Yeah, I gotta feed Charlie. Just ladle some of that broth right back on top of there. Now it's time for the roast that's resting in the cooler. Let's have a peek. She's still hot. Oh yeah. Same process here. We're gonna go in for the smash.
Ready.
Oh, look at that
Wow.
smoke ring. We've got a smoke ring on this one. Of course we would, because it was in the Yoder. Oh boy. Here you go, Scott. You won't have to steal a bite from this one. I'm gonna give you a bite. Whew. You want me to take it like that? That's a slab of beef now. Look at that. Look at that smoke ring. That beautiful bark. Oh. How's that one? Bite pretty tender. Look at that. That's what 18 hours on the smoker will do on a 10-pound roast. That's beautiful. A little piece of fat for Charlie. There you go, Charlie.
He's still going to town on that pan.
Here you go. Man, that just pulls so nice. That's really good stuff.
I have to say, the crock pot one looked great. This one is
Doesn't have the same
Doesn't
look.
have that added character.
great.
handful of smoked beef. Doesn't that look amazing?
That looks heavenly.
Oh, just place it in the crock pot. So we're not going to tell the employees at the luncheon which one was which. We're just going to let them figure it out and then ask around and see which one they preferred. But it's pretty easy to tell because if you look at these, the two of these, you can see that crust and that smoke on that one. And then if you look over here, it doesn't have that smoke ring. So it'll be pretty easy to tell for the educated eye.
Okay. Seth mentioned this is going to the crew and staff for lunch, which we'll be joining in too, but we thought we would taste it here now, knowing the difference between the crock pot and the smoker. So obvious, you know, crock pot, super simple to do. You just literally set it in there and almost forget it. And then the smoker, obviously with the ease of the pellet smoker, we get you know, modern convenience of having smoked meat. So you can see here, obviously you have the smoke color, the bark, the ring. You're not going to get that. We did add the hickory smoke powder to give this a little bit of a smoked feel, but just give this first one here out of the crock pot. Incredible. Juicy, tender roast beef. Just quality
Really
right up
good
front.
roast beef flavor.
A little bit of those spices back there, but definitely not overpowering.
Super good. A little hint of that hickory smoke powder.
You can add more spice without overspicing it at this point if you want, or barbecue sauce.
Put Rebel Red barbecue sauce on it, whatever you want.
So, I mean, definitely a winner in my book. And so easy. Now let's try some of this with that smoke color and that ring on there.
This one kept us up a little more last night, so that is something to remember when you're running a smoker. You have to, you know, manage it a little bit.
Boy,
Babysit
again,
it.
that quality, tender, moist, that beef flavor, but it's got that little extra element that you know, at least personally, like you know, it had that smoker involved there. So both winners in my book. If you've got the apparatus or the equipment, or you've got the time, smoking it is
You got to
way
try
to go.
it. Grab a beef chuck roll. You got to try it.
That's good. All right, let's go feed everybody.
Let's go.
All right, it's kind Heavenly Father God, we thank you for this another day. We thank you for the opportunity to gather here once again, and especially for the food that we're about to partake of. We ask you to bless it for the nourishment of our bodies. Bless the time that we spend here working. We might be able to bless others and spread your glory to your name. So we're thankful for it. We give you all the praise and glory, honor, and we just ask you to keep us throughout the remainder of this day as we continue our work day. We pray in Christ's holy name. Amen. All right.
Dig in.
Make yourself a sandwich. Make yourself a plate without a bun, with a bun.
We have two crock pots. One's labeled 1, one's labeled 2. We're not going to tell everybody which is Yoder, which is crock pot. But then we'll go around and ask a few people which one they like best. So dig in, crew.
Do you want to get a shot of my plate, he says.
Look at that. Isn't that the beautiful summer barbecue? Got both of the roast beefs, coleslaw, smoked mac and cheese, potato salad, a couple of little cookies on there.
That doesn't miss.
No, sir.
Wrapped up lunch. We're going to ask some members of the crew which one they preferred, crock pot 1 or crock pot 2. And I'm going to tell you after they're done which was which. Josh?
Crockpot 1. I had some of both. Crockpot 1 was definitely better.
I
Lissa?
only had Crockpot 1 and it was phenomenal.
I had
Dan?
both, but one wins.
Jeremy?
Well, there wasn't anything left in Crockpot 1 by the time I got to eat, except for some scraps. If I had to guess, that might have been the smoked one, which I think was good. But I'll go with 2 because that's the majority of what I ate.
Hey, there it is. Crockpot 1 wins. That is, in fact, the roast that came off the Yoder smoker. We kind of knew that was going to happen. If you come over here, like Jeremy said, Crockpot 1, that's all that's left. Crockpot 2, not much at all. So 20 pounds of roast that we started with, fed between 30 and 40 people today. So absolutely incredible. Hopefully you guys and gals enjoyed the video. Hopefully you learned something. Go out and get that boneless beef roast, that chuck roll. Make it into the pulled pork style product that you would serve at graduations, weddings, and things like that. You will not be disappointed, I can guarantee you. And until next time, see ya.